Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to CFT's weekly upfront broadcast. My name is Jeff Freitas, and I am the president of CFT. And I'm so glad that you've decided to join us again this week. First of all, let me just start by saying what a difference a week makes in the outlook of our country. Last week, our nation was still reeling from the insurrectionists that attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, with threats of violence on Inauguration Day a real concern. Last week, Donald Trump was still president. And this week, we have every reason to celebrate. In reality, it feels like a sigh of relief after 4 years of lies, division, overt racism, ignoring and silencing science and scientists, and so much more. There is this feeling that a huge weight has been lifted. The inauguration of Joe Biden this Wednesday brought hope back to so many who for years have lived in fear. In his remarks, President Biden called for national unity, but not on the terms where we forget what happened over the last 4 years, but on our terms, based on dignity, based on respect, based on justice for all people. Though gently delivered, his remarks were a fierce call to protect and uphold our democracy in this, one of our nation's darkest hours. We are especially proud of California's own, now, Vice President Kamala Harris and her historic inauguration as the nation's first female vice president, and the first Black vice president, and the first South Asian vice president. For so many young women, for so many people of color, seeing Kamala on the world's biggest stage taking the oath of office has shown that we are taking steps to move forward as a society, that barriers are being broken and old ways are being left behind. But Vice President Harris is much more than just a symbol. She's a smart, fierce fighter, and her experience and leadership will be crucial to ensure the Biden administration is successful. We will be with her every step of the way, as we have been with her from the DA's office in San Francisco to the California AG's office to California's U.S. Senate seat and now the White House. But I really hope you had a chance to see the poem that was recited by youth poet laureate Amanda Gorman. If you have not watched the inauguration, you must at least go back and watch this amazing young woman speak truth. Her words brought tears to millions of eyes across the country, including my own, for her brilliance and for her hope. So let me just give you a part of those inspiring words here. As I quote Ms. Gorman, "It's because being American is more than a pride we inherited. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy, and this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith, we trust. While we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared at its inception, and we did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? We now assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Those were part of her poem and part of the speech that she provided. And this is the week that we honored Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the same week of the inauguration of President Biden, the same week that we heard similar words that I just read part of by Amanda Gorman, of a call for a better future, a future with a justice and equity and a better country. There is hope and vision that we continue to strive for. If you are looking for an opportunity to teach this poem in your class, you can find it. You can find a few lesson plans at sharemylesson.com, and they are very helpful. And if you haven't watched it, I do repeat myself, please go back and watch her read her poem. As to the work that needs to get done, we are happy to report that Joe Biden has already gotten off to a great start in his presidency, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord and the World Health Organization, and immediately starting the important work of a coordinated federal response to the pandemic within which we live. He has also fired the General Counsel of the National Labor Relations Board, Peter Robb, who was notoriously anti-union and anti-worker, and who had no business leading the labor board. But the work is just getting started. One of the most important things we can do right now is to help pressure Congress to get behind President Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus plan. People are hurting, and urgent stimulus is needed to see us through this pandemic. As we discussed last week, highlights of the plan include direct payments of $1,400 to most Americans, increasing the federal unemployment benefit by $400 a week and extending it through the end of September, extending the eviction and foreclosure moratoriums until the end of September, $350 billion in state and local government aid, and $170 billion for TK-12 schools and institutions of higher education, and much more. You can help right now by sending a letter to your congressional representative, urging them to support President Biden's plan. Simply go to cft.org/stimulus and sign your name onto that letter. That's cft.org/stimulus, STIMULUS. We will also post it below in the comments. Now, on to the vaccine. At the CFT Executive Council meeting earlier this month, we adopted a formal resolution based on the research and scientific data endorsing the use of the COVID vaccines and encouraging and educating all Californians to get the vaccine, including CFT members. As Dr. Fauci has stated, to get this pandemic under control and eliminated from our communities, and to get back to any sort of normalcy, most of the population will need to receive one of the COVID-19 vaccines, both of which have gone through a vigorous scientific process to ensure they are safe and reliable. And the vaccines are already out and saving lives. Unfortunately, due to first the denial and then the incompetence of the previous federal administration, the rollout of the vaccine across the country and in California has certainly been delayed. But we are encouraged by the Biden administration prioritizing and working around the clock to help make sure the vaccine is more available and accessible throughout our state and in our communities. We fundamentally believe that the vaccine is an essential part to safely provide in-person education, along with other safety measures, including social distancing, contact tracing, testing, and PPE. And we are working with our locals and districts to help them provide the vaccine when it is educators' time to do so. I can tell you, I know personally that as soon as I am able to, as soon as it is my time in line is up, that I will be taking a vaccine, and both doses. And I'm encouraging all of you to do the same when it is your time in line as well. It's only together that we can do this and eliminate this COVID-19 from our communities. For more information about the vaccine, you can go to cft.org/vaccines for more information. Again, cft.org/vaccines. So much information is at cft.org. You can just go there if you don't remember. Again, a link will be down below in the comments. And another example of just how different the Biden administration is from their predecessors, this week, yesterday in fact, in her first official event as First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden honored educators and classified professionals across the country in an online event with AFT President Randy Weingarten and NEA President Becky Pringle. Quote, "I couldn't wait one more day to have this meeting," Dr. Biden said during the event, "because I have never felt prouder of our profession." Yes, she said our profession. She continued to say, "In this pandemic, educators have shown heroic commitment to their students. In fact, on Inauguration Day, Dr. Biden even taught a lesson to one of her classes. It means so much to have an educator in the White House, and the thanks from Dr. Biden during these difficult times really does show how the Biden administration respects and will listen to those doing the work in our schools." In fact, this meeting on the very first day of the Biden administration demonstrates that the voices of educators and classified professionals will be at the table to discuss policy instead of being left out of the room. And that is a day of hope and celebration. So with that, we end today's CFT Upfront broadcast. And again, I thank you for joining us. This week, we turned a huge corner in the direction and tone of our country, and is with such great relief, and it gives us so much hope. I know we have many more challenges ahead of us and so much to get done. But as always, if we stay united, we can meet those challenges, as difficult as they may be. So again, I ask you to have a good weekend, to please stay safe, and please take care of yourself. Good night.